Hello everyone, in this video, I'll share the findings of the research titled Late Adoption of Preventive Measures of Online Privacy in Mexican and Colombian University Students, published in February 2021 by
Dr. Carlos Arturo Torres Gastelú.
The main objective of the study was to identify the perceptions that Mexican and Colombian university students have regarding the preventive measures they use for online privacy. Essentially, we wanted to understand what they do and what they don't do to protect themselves online. To set the stage, the academic literature highlights that developing digital competence in online security is a significant challenge for Latin American universities. Studies consistently show that Internet users tend to overestimate their own privacy skills while rarely implementing effective protection strategies. This well-known gap between concern and action is called the privacy paradox. The root cause for this is often linked to a lack of sufficient training on security and privacy issues, not just for students, but for teachers as well. This underscores the critical need for universities to integrate this topic into their curricula to train truly responsible digital citizens. A key factor is a clear gap in privacy literacy. Several authors agree that Internet users rarely put privacy and data protection strategies into practice and often overestimate their own knowledge and skills in this area. This lack of skill often traces back to our educational institutions. The literature points out that both students and teachers receive insufficient training on security and privacy issues online, resulting in a low level of mastery across the board. This lack of education leads to the psychological phenomenon known as the privacy paradox. Researchers have identified a major discrepancy between the high concern people claim to have for their privacy and their actual behavior, where they do very little to protect their information. Ultimately, this paradox plays out in the real world through very different patterns of online behavior. Studies show a broad spectrum of actions among students, ranging from those who actively use protective measures to those who believe achieving any real privacy is simply impossible. So, how did we investigate this? We utilized a mixed methods approach to get a complete picture, combining quantitative data with qualitative insights. The quantitative part identified student perceptions, while the qualitative part sought to understand how they control their privacy. For the quantitative part, we administered a 20-item survey to a convenient sample of 1,245 university students in Mexico and Colombia. To add depth to these numbers, the qualitative part consisted of open-ended questions answered by 42 students from computing-related fields. This was crucial because it allowed us to perform data triangulation, comparing the broad survey data with the detailed personal narratives for a more accurate understanding. Finally, our survey instrument showed a high level of reliability, with a Cronbach's alpha of 0.906, confirming its consistency. Once we collected the data, we used SPSS software for the analysis. To test our hypotheses about potential differences by country and gender, we chose the Kruskal-Wallis test. For the qualitative data, all the responses were carefully transcribed and organized. This allowed us to identify the main themes and, most importantly, to triangulate those findings with the quantitative data from the survey. Our first hypothesis, H1, proposed that there would be no significant difference in the privacy behaviors of Mexican versus Colombian students. The results showed this was largely true. The null hypothesis was largely accepted, with no significant differences found in 18 of the 20 items we measured. The only two exceptions were related to giving permission for webcam use and heeding security warnings on websites. Next, our second hypothesis, H2, addressed gender, proposing that there would be no significant difference in the privacy measures used by men and women. Once again, the findings were very similar. The null hypothesis was largely accepted, with no differences found in 19 of the 20 items. Interestingly, the single item that did show a significant difference was, again, related to consciously giving permission for webcam use. Now for the overall results, which revealed a fascinating contradiction. On the surface, the quantitative data from the survey painted a positive picture. A majority of students, 62.2%, showed a favorable attitude toward using privacy measures. However, the qualitative findings from their narratives told a different story. They revealed a late adoption of these skills, often not developing until after entering university. But most importantly, we found a clear contradiction. While the survey suggested students used a broad range of privacy tools, Their own stories indicated that, in reality, they only use a few, mostly basic measures. This brings us to our three main conclusions. First, there is a clear inconsistency between perception and actual practice. 6 out of 10 students report a favorable attitude, but their actual implementation is limited to basic strategies. Second, we confirmed a late adoption of these measures, with students typically starting to learn about online security only when they enter university around the age of 18. And third, we found a remarkable lack of differences by country and gender. The behaviors were very consistent, with the only common point of difference being the use of webcams. Finally, what does all this mean, and where do we go from here? Our findings suggest a clear deficit in privacy training at educational levels prior to university. This points to a clear need for schools to strengthen the digital competences of their teachers so this knowledge can be passed on to students. Furthermore, this study concludes that it's crucial to assess not just students' attitudes, but their real skills and knowledge. And looking ahead, because we found similar needs in both countries, future educational strategies could be designed at a regional level for Latin America to tackle this issue more effectively. We've reached the end of this presentation. Thank you for your time and attention. Those who wish to delve deeper into this or other research projects, I invite you to visit the doctor's other channels, where you'll find similar content.